Hello again, students, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Mercasa's Digital Lessons. As you can see here, we got a screenshot of my desktop on my laptop computer. So today's lesson is dedicated to my 6th grade social studies class, and this is for your guys' Unit 2 Documents-Based Questions Essay Planners. So let me go and draw that up real quick. So by this point, you guys should have downloaded my Google document that has your guys' Unit 2 Essay Planners. At the same time, I highly recommend that you guys also open up your guys' Unit 2 Cold War Documents-Based Questions. You guys will need this in order to work on your guys' assignment. So let's go ahead and get this started with. So first of all, as you can see, the essay planner is exactly the same essay planner you guys worked on for Unit 1 when you guys wrote your essays about your country. So this time around, we're going to actually work on this together, help you guys to plan out your guys' Chicken for Thesis Planner. You guys will also need to do a bucketing activity, so Chicken for Thesis Planner, a bucketing activity, as well as an essay outline. And of course, the planners are down below, and you guys can actually type into those planners as well. As you can see, we have your Chicken for Thesis Planner here, your bucket activity here, as well as your essay outline as well. Now, let's talk about you guys being great on this assignment. To get 100% this assignment, ladies and gentlemen, to get 100%, you must do two things. You, the student, effectively formulates and follows an action plan to explore your research question. Basically, that means can you fill out an essay planner. And secondly, use methods to collect and record consistently relevant and appropriate information, which means that the information you put in there is appropriate and correct, and it deals with your guys' topics. You do those two things, get 100%. You can't do those two things and get less. Should be noted on this one, you cannot get extra credit on this one, so don't worry about that one for now. Okay, so first of all, let's go and talk about your guys' Chicken for Thesis Planner. Now, just like last time when you guys are working on your guys' essay planners, the very first thing you know is to work on your thesis planner. This thesis statement is the heart and soul of your guys' paper. It talks about exactly what your paper is going to be about, what your argument, how you're going to explain your argument, and also how you're going to plan your guys' essay. So as you can see here, we got multiple parts. We have your analytical question, your argument. You also have your 3 case points located here, as well as your guys' thesis statement. So the very first thing we need to do, of course, is type in your guys' analytical question. Now, the analytical question you guys will be typing into this document is the very same one that's on your guys' document-based question. So as you can see here, as you guys are working your guys' document-based question, this was the overall analytical question you need to answer. The geography of the Cold War, what was containment? So in that case, we just write that down. The geography of the Cold War. What was containment? With a question mark. So go and do that real quick for your own, so that way you guys can work on your case points. Okay, so in this case, we've just looked at our guys' documents-based questions. We looked at 4 different documents A, B, C, and D, and I basically talked about exactly the containment strategy that the United States government used in order to stop the Russians from expanding communism, all right? What you guys will need to do is, of course, answer your guys' argument and also use these documents to help you guys out. Now, the nice thing about this essay, because it's the very first documents-based question essay you guys have done for me, this one is pretty nice because it's pretty much formulaic is how it works. What they basically do is they give you 3 examples of containment. All right, they showed you the containment of the Russians and the Soviet Union when they talked about the Berlin airlift. They also did exactly the same thing when they talked about the Korean War, and same thing with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Those are 3 historical examples of containment taking place in the United States, which is really nice because if you were to look at your guys' Chicken for Thesis Planner, you have 3 case points, and that's exactly what they are. So for now, we need to answer our question now. So we have an analytical question. The geography of the Cold War was containment. Now we got to type in your guys' argument. Containment was the United States' ability, United States' policy to prevent communism from spreading through, and put 3 little periods there for that one right there. Spreading, not spetting. There we go, spreading. There we go. So that's what your guys' argument going to be about, because that's exactly what this document was about. This document-based questions essay showed you guys 3 different examples of doing that. And so now that we have your argument as well as your analytical question, now what you need to do is write your case points. The 3 examples that we have for your guys' DBQ is located here. We have the Berlin airlift, the Korean War, and the Cuban Missile Crisis. So what you'll need to do is put exactly those same 3 in your guys' case points. So Berlin airlift, the Korean War, and finally the Cuban Missile Crisis. Just like that. So now we know exactly what your paper is going to be about. It's going to talk about, explain the United States' policy to preventing communism from spreading. And we're going to show exactly this, the Berlin airlift, the Korean War, as well as the Cuban Missile Crisis. So now that you guys have your argument as well as your 3 case points done, the next thing you do now is, of course, work on your thesis statement. And to work on your thesis statement, all you need to do is combine your argument as well as your 3 case points, and you combine them all into one single sentence. So for example, if I was to do this, for mine, I put down containment was the United States' policy to prevent communism from spreading through. And now we type in our case points: the Berlin airlift, comma, the Korean War, comma, and the Cuban Missile Crisis, followed by a period. Let me go ahead and just make sure I spelled that one correctly there. There we go. And let me go ahead and change the grammar on this one real quick. Made a mistake there, if it'll let me. There we go. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now our Chicken Foot Thesis Planner is all done. We now know exactly what our paper is going to be about. We're going to talk about containment and specifically use the Berlin airlift, the Korean War, and the Cuban Missile Crisis in order to do that. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, is how you go about doing your Chicken Foot Thesis Planner. So now that your guys' Chicken Foot Thesis Planner is over with, the next thing we need to do is start planning out your guys' body paragraphs by doing your bucketing activity. All right, so now that we're done with your Chicken Foot Thesis Planner, the next thing we need to do now is doing your bucket activity. Now, in case if you guys remember from last time, if you notice here, we got 3 buckets, and each bucket is dedicated to a different case point. Whether you guys are aware of it or not, each of your case points represents a different body paragraph within your guys' essay. So in this case, we have 3 case points, you'll have 3 body paragraphs. And these case points are exactly the same ones that you use in your Chicken Foot Thesis Planner. So for example, case point number 1 from your Chicken Foot Thesis Planner is your main bucket there. Case point number 2 will be your guys' second bucketing activity. Case point number 3 will be your guys' third bucketing activity. So in this case, you just need to fill those out real quick. So since my case point 1 was a Berlin airlift, I type in Berlin airlift. Now, since my second case point is the Korean War, I type in the Korean War. And since my third case point is the Cuban Missile Crisis, I type in the Cuban Missile Crisis. All right, what you guys will need to do now that you guys have completed this, what you need to do now is find 2 examples of how the Berlin airlift created containment within keeping the communists from spreading into West Germany as well as Berlin. For your Korean War case point, you'll need to give you 2 examples of how the United States' actions in the Korean War stopped the Russians from spreading communism in Korea. And you need to do exactly the same thing for the Cuban Missile Crisis as well. Now, your source is pretty simple. It's your documents. So, for example, the Berlin airlift is document B. So what you need to do for your source is put down document B, like that. Your Korean War case point is for document C. And for your Cuban Missile Crisis, that's document D. So that part is already pretty much done for you. What you'll need to do now is look for examples inside of your guys' documents-based questions. So if you go back to your documents here, here's document B, for example. What you'll need to do is look at document B real quick and find some examples, 2 examples from this document that show you exactly how containment was done. You'll need to do exactly the same thing with document C for the Korean War, and exactly the same thing for document D for the Cuban Missile Crisis. So I'm going to pause this video real quick and give you guys a couple of minutes for you guys to come up with your examples. And when you have those examples, you just type it here in the right-hand side of your guys' little buckets here. Now, I'm going to make up some ones that are actually completely fictitious, but I'm just going to do that so that way you guys get an idea exactly how it looks. So for example, let's pretend in the Berlin airlift they use fire-breathing dragons, to destroy tanks, Soviet tanks. And they did that, and they also enlisted the aid of Captain America to help out the war effort, for example, okay? If those are some examples from that document for the Berlin airlift, you just pipe those examples down here. Same thing exactly with the Korean War as well as the Cuban Missile Crisis. So go ahead and take a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, type in your guys' examples that you find from those documents into your bucket activities, and then from there we'll move on to your guys' essay planner. All right, so as you can see here, we're now all fully completed up with your guys' bugging activities with your examples. That should be completed. Your guys' Chicken Foot Thesis Planner should also be planned out as well. Now the last step we need to work on, of course, is your guys' essay planner outline. So as you can see here, here's your guys' essay planner. It's exactly the same that you guys worked on the last time that you guys worked on your guys' essay planners for Unit 1. Now the important part about this is that do not write sentences down in your guys' planner, okay? No sentences, okay? These are just quick little notations about your guys' topics, so that way you guys know exactly what you're writing about, okay? There's nothing more than just a roadmap for you guys to guide you on your writing. Okay, because the reason why is if you wrote a sentence for everything, what would be the point for you writing your final draft, right? If you wrote it out. So there's no point doing that. So that's why you don't do any sentences, okay? No sentences once again. Now, of course, there are some caveats. I do want you to write a complete sentence for your analytical question. I actually want you to write that out. I also want you to write your thesis statement in the introduction portion. And in the conclusion paragraphs portion, I want you to rewrite your guys' analytical question as well as your thesis statement so that way you guys know exactly what your guys' topic is about. Easiest way of doing that real quick is just copying and pasting those. So for example, if I go up here to my analytical question, I could just highlight that, hit Control C, go back to my analytical question portion, hit Control V, do exactly the same thing in my conclusion paragraph. Then we go back up here to my thesis statement, Control C to copy that, and put it here in my thesis statement, Control V, and my thesis statement, Control V, just like that. All right, so that way you know what your topic's about as well. Now, for my situation for you, my recommendation for you is when you guys are working an introductory paragraph, you just choose a general topic sentence. And for your background information, which talks about the time, place, and situation what's going on there, my suggestion to you is to find your background information in your document portion by looking at your background essay. You see the key points there? Background essay, background information. It's like I planned that on purpose or something. But anyways, that could be a quick little notation of that. So for example, if we were to do this real quick for the time place situation, I could say end of World War II. That could be my time period. Place is Eastern Europe. Situation, just something really quick, democracy versus communism. I do apologize for making all these spelling mistakes as I'm working on this. What's happening is I have my microphone right in front of my keyboard, so it's kind of hard for me to reach my keys and actually get that taken care of. Okay, so you can see there, I just put some quick little notations, all I did for that, okay? That's all I did there. And as of course, you can just fill out your guys' information as you go. Now, the same thing with your guys' body paragraphs. Your guys' body paragraph information should come from your guys' bucketing activities. As you can see here, you provide example number 1 and example number 2 in your body paragraphs, right? If you go up to your bucketing activity, you actually did that already. You actually have information here about your first example and your second example up here. So all you do in that situation is go and do exactly the same thing you did before. Go and just kind of copy and paste your guys' information into your guys' planners, kind of like I'm doing right here. Now, granted, you shouldn't be writing about fire-breathing dragons or Captain America for that matter, but I'm just using this as an example for you guys right there. So you can see there's example number 1, as well as example number 2. All you do at that point, of course, is just provide some information about explaining it out. That's all I need to do. So just some quick little notations about that. Fires destroy tanks. Tanks protecting U.S. territory, for example, or whatever the case may be for you. Whatever the situation is for yours, you just, of course, fill it out as you guys need to as time goes on. And you'll need to do this exactly for all 3 of your guys' body paragraphs. Now, the last thing you do, of course, is work on your conclusion paragraph. So as you can see here, restate the end of the little question. You did that already. Same thing with restating your thesis statement. And for this part here, for your summarize your argument, you're just giving a couple of key points about what your paper was about. And lastly, of course, you have a conclusion sentence, which you plan on doing. Now, this is where a lot of kids get into a little bit of a hiccup here when it comes to your guys' although argument. On the although argument, what you do for that one is that you present other possible arguments against your own, all right? And the reason why you do that is so that way you inform your reader that you are aware that there are arguments besides your own, but yours is the most correct. So if I was to do an although statement, for example, I'll put down, although many would argue that containment didn't work, it did. All right, and of course, you just put some examples of some of your guys' notations on that part. So things like, hold on, let me change that real quick. A few little notations that you got from your work before, for example, fall of communism in 1991, for example, could be one of the things you use, or whatever you want to for your guys' paper right there. Oh, not 9,991, 1991. Sorry like that. Like I said before, my keyboard is being blocked by my microphone right now. But there you guys have it. That's a quick example of how you guys can fill out your guys' essay planners real quick. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much how you guys go about doing your chicken foot thesis planner, as well as your bucketing activity, as well as your guys' essay planner. So, For the rest of the time that you guys are working on this, go and just finish that up and get those essay planners completed. Make sure you get those turned in by the due date. And that's going to do it for this video lesson, you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me on Schoology, and I'll get back to you guys as quickly as possible. You guys stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll catch you guys on the next digital lesson. Peace out, you guys. See you next time.